All right, we made it to Formula Drift Pro Spec Round 2 in New Jersey. So before coming to this round in New Jersey, we took the car over to 5 Bar Motorsports in Fort Myers, Florida, to see if we could figure out those breaking up hiccup issues we were having in Orlando. Of course, we could not replicate those breakups. The car seemed to run fine on the dyno. It made power. It still maybe looked a little rich in some areas, so we decided we would just clean up the tune a little bit, take away some fuel in some areas that looked a little rich, and then overall kind of smooth out that table. We arrived at the track on Wednesday, went over the car as usual, made sure everything looked good so that we were ready for Thursday practice. Unfortunately, during Thursday practice, we started having those breakup issues again. It wasn't as bad as it was in Orlando. I felt like I could still drive through it. The car still had power. It would pick up every now and then, but it definitely wasn't as bad. So I felt confident that we could keep practicing and everything would be okay. A few laps into practice, I was getting a little bit comfortable and I went a little too quick into the second outer zone. And I knew I was coming in a little fast, so I threw more angle on the car and clutch kicked because I knew I was going into the wall. So we backed it up into the second outer zone, had a big, I wouldn't call it a crash, but like we definitely hit the rear end pretty good. So much so that it bent my bash bar in and we needed to do repairs. Leaving there, I was actually gonna reinitiate and just keep drifting, but my handbrake was gone. When we got back to the pits, we realized that it was actually my rear bumper that came forward and hit one of my brake lines that caused it to start leaking brake fluid. Lost my handbrake.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I noticed you trying to reinitiate and I was like, she's gonna...
Yeah, I was gonna do it, but I pulled my handbrake and it just went whoop, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I think I broke stuff. I should just... We put a new brake line on the car. We had to do some welding to make my bash bar one piece again. We broke some welds and we had to weld it back together so it would stay on for the rest of the competition. Huge shout out to Chris. Thank you so much for letting us use your shop. It got us back out on track really quickly and we continued practicing. Now, later on in practice, I noticed my car starting to overheat. We rarely have overheating issues with our setup, so I knew something was just wrong. And usually what happens is if we have an overheating issue, it's just one of my fans. Something comes unplugged or I blow a fuse and it makes one of my fans turn off so it doesn't cool efficiently. And usually all we have to do is plug it back in or put a new fuse in.
Yeah, one fan's out. Yeah, this
side's not on.
Yep.
Yep, that's a blown fuse to me.
It's a melted fuse.
Yay, something simple.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. So what we did was put a new fuse in and get back out there. And I started feeling really good. And I was getting comfortable to the point where my last 2 laps before qualifying, I was getting a little bit wild. I was just flooring it up to this entry and really entering early and throwing the car hard. A little too hard because I was going wide and dropping a tire and doing a wheelie in that first outer zone. So going into qualifying, I knew I just kind of needed to reel it in a little bit. I needed to kind of calm down and put down a solid lap.
You can see she's carrying a lot of momentum into this first outside zone, and then snap. She just comes up a little bit short and she rides that line. That's the only criticism that I would see there. Notice, you don't see any clear e-braking. She was carrying a lot of momentum, looked like she was headed right towards the wall. She wasn't able to fill that zone completely, but she's doing a pretty good job overall. I mean, this is definitely better than average, just touching that inside clip, hitting that third and final outside zone.
After going wide the last 2 practice runs, I'm like, okay, don't go that wide. And it caused me to be a little shallow in that zone. But overall, I was in the second outer zone. Could have been a little wider for my standards, but still good. I tapped the inner clip as I came by it, and then I was solid on the third outer. Again, I feel like I could have been a little wider everywhere, a little bit better overall. But it was a good score. It was a 77, which put us into 11th place qualifying position. And my top 32 battle was going to be against my friend Human Rahimi. We arrived at the track Friday feeling good, got ready, got out there for practice, and my very first practice run, my car was breaking up like crazy. It was just as bad as that first day in Orlando. Felt so bad because my friend Derek Madison was trying to do a really good follow on me. And I feel really bad because here I am, like my car is breaking up like crazy. It's barely drifting, but I'm trying to stay in it because he's right there. But I start like waving out my window to him. I like put my hand out and I'm like, yo, I'm stopping. And he's still following me because he saw me keep going. I'm like, hey, like for real, like I'm stopping. And I straighten out, he got the picture. I just didn't want there to be a collision because my car wasn't running. And I came back in and I'm like, guys, like it was breaking up so bad. And they let me know that it looks like my serpentine belt had slipped a tooth. So I head back to the pits so we can address the serpentine belt issue, and was hoping that those breakups were related to my serpentine belt slipping. After we got the serpentine belt back on, I was able to go out and get some more practice laps. After I followed Dimitri, my car started overheating again. So I just drove back to the pits for us to address the issue, and I was hoping we were just having a fan fuse issue again.
Water pump belt?
It appears that my water pump belt is falling off. We put the belts back where they belong, we start the car back up, and the water pump belt just falls off again. So we go and we get our hands on the water pump itself, and we realize that there's actually some play in the pulley. And we think that that play was causing the belt to slip off, which meant my pump was not circulating, causing the car to overheat. We thought that was a pretty good theory, so we decided to go ahead and change the water pump for a new one so we would not have that play in the pulley, but keep the belt on, and keep the water pump flowing so we do not overheat the car. So we pulled out of practice after those couple laps, and fortunately our battle was the very last one of the night, so we had plenty of time to get that water pump changed. Once we get this new water pump in, we get the belts back on, we head to the line for our battle against Human.
Way to go. Simultaneously, Kelsey, nice angle here. Kelsey coming into that first outside zone. Ooh, you see Initiate comes out a little bit of angle, not too bad. Whoa, Human getting aggressive there. Getting to the side of Kelsey, deeper into that second outside zone. You want to mimic that lead car's line, but Kelsey, some wavering past that inside clip, really dialed in there. Whoa, here comes Human. Man, Human has just got the horsepower on deck. You saw him surge forward. A good lead run there by Kelsey.
I felt like personally I could have done a little bit better, but overall it was a good run. It would have been a good score in qualifying. We come back, we change places, I pull up to the line, and I notice that my car is at 248 degrees again. So I am waving frantically at Matt Sopo on the start line and saying, yo, I'm calling 5, I'm calling 5. My radios again stopped working, so I just had a handheld radio in my car, and I grabbed that and I'm radioing to my spotter, yo, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Car's overheating. We go back over to the pits, car is overheating, and I turn everything off, and at this point we're just like, we don't know why. Our only theory is that when we did the water pump, there must have still been a bubble, like an air bubble in the system, causing it to overheat. 248. So at this point, they're just spraying down the radiator. We're trying to get more water in the system. We don't have a lot of time. The car's hot. We can't really open it up right away. So we're just trying to do everything we can to cool the car down. It's coming down.
It's coming down.
It's coming down.
It's coming down. 210. 208.
Fortunately, that worked. The temps came down right when we had a minute left, and we felt good to send it back out there for a second lap. I went back to the line to follow Human in the second half of our battle.
Is Kelsey going to be aggressive? Keep those temps low, but keep those tires hot. Here we go, Human Rahimi up front. I'm only Human. Goes into that first outside zone, initiates. You saw him throw up some sparks, kind of quickly expedites in and out. Oh, Human, crashing. Riding the lightning, getting into the dirt, going more rally car. Big angle there from Human Rahimi. And Kelsey Rowlings being very aggressive, even with going offline. Human Rahimi touches dirt again. All over the place. I gotta tell you, Kelsey Rowlings keeping the composure.
Well, this could be a situation where Kelsey wins the lead and Human wins the chase, but Kelsey wins the lead by such a dramatic amount because of these mistakes in the lead by Human. I mean, clearly does not get to outside zone 1, and then on outside zone 2,
Goes way deep.
almost 2 tires off there, but really impacts the overall attitude of the car. And this
Hard
coming,
to chase that.
Hard to chase, and this coming after he had those really cool surging attacks where he was right in the pocket in the chase, and it may have just kind of overshadowed that by this big mistake here. And, you know, Kelsey's just doing what she's being asked to do, which is follow. She obviously does not fall prey to going off course so dramatically.
When we entered the course, I felt that I could have been a little bit closer to him. So I was hoping to really dive in through the transition and get on his door in the second outer zone. Now, when he transitioned into that second outer zone, he actually went way too wide. And at this point, I'm right here, he's right here, he's dropping a tire, his car is bouncing around, it's wobbling, and I'm just sitting here like, all right, I'm gonna try to keep chasing you. I don't know what you're doing, where you're going. I don't know if you're flying completely off course or if you're gonna shoot back on, but I'm here. So I was just doing the best that I could to kind of follow him as he was off-roading a little bit. He did bring it back on and was able to maintain a good line coming past that first inner clip. So again, I really wanted to be aggressive and dive into this third outer zone. But as he transitioned, he missed the beginning of the third outer zone as well, and then started filling it towards the end. So I did my best to try to follow that line and was able to get on his door at the end of the zone. But overall, it wasn't a great chase, but it also wasn't a great lead for me to follow. And at the end of that run, my car was at 248 degrees again. As soon as we pull up to Matt to get the decision, I shut my car off. And fortunately, the reward of the night is we did move on. The judges decided that my lead was overall better than Human's, and although his chase was a little bit better than mine, he gave me a really hard lead to follow. So overall, they thought I did a better job. I got the win, and I was moving on to face Austin Matta in the top 16 on Saturday.
Good job, girl. Good job.
That was stressful.
Hey, you did it.
After we got the decision, we towed my car back to the pits, and we were trying to figure out why we were still overheating. We decided that the best thing we could do at this point was just to really bleed and re-bleed the system to make sure there was no air at all in this system. And once we re-bled the system, we actually unplugged both the fans, left it running. We tried to make it overheat, and it wouldn't overheat. So we figured, okay, it was just a big air bubble. We should be fine for Saturday. Everybody deserves a cookie.
Cookies. I'll die for the cookies. Cookies. Oh, they're so good.
That's a big chocolate chip.
Saturday morning, we had an hour-long warm-up before heading into top 16 intros and top 16 battles. I go out there for a lap or two, and again, my car starts overheating. We were getting a lot of pressure in our cooling system, and this is when we started figuring out that we think we have a head gasket problem.
I think you got a head gasket issue.
Unfortunately, there was nothing we could do before our top 16 battle. The only thing we could think to do was be a little bit strategic with how we ran the car.
So I say we don't practice anymore and let the car cool down, do what we can, and send it.
Yeah, because I already used my 5-minute call, so I can't even call 5 minutes
So,
to cool down.
I think that's what we should do.
We knew we were going to overheat after one lap, so I sat out of the warm-up. I drove my golf cart up to opening ceremonies so that we kept the car off and cool in the pits. And we towed my car over when it was time for my battle, and I didn't turn the car on until I had to enter the burnout box. Fortunately, I was actually following Austin Matta. He had a higher qualifying score than me, so I was following, which meant I didn't have to go in the burnout box and then sit on the line waiting for him to do burnouts. I was able to go, do my warm-up, pull to the line, and then we were set pretty much immediately. So that was really lucky. When I left the burnout box, my car had gotten up to about 180 degrees. And unfortunately, just like we had seen in practice, when my car was actually cooler, we had just started it up, it tended to have more of those breakup issues, and then they kind of went away as it got warm. So in my follow lap, I entered, I was really good on my entry. I was stuck with him. I had a really good transition, even though he had a little bit of a weird hesitation going into his transition. I transitioned well, and I set myself up so that I was pretty much right there going into the second outer zone. I had a really good position, and in my head I'm thinking, oh great, I just have to clutch kick and then I'm on his door. I can stay on his door through this whole second outer zone. And as soon as I go to do that clutch kick and get in the gas, my car is choking, it's breaking up like crazy, and I mean, full on panic. I am clutch kicking. I'm trying to do my best to keep this car sideways so I wouldn't zero out. At that point, proximity was on the back of my mind. I still tried to stay close to Austin, but my goal was just keep the car sideways so it's not a 0. I did an okay job considering how badly it was breaking up, but I did straighten out.
But I think some of the vehicle issues are manifesting a bit here.
It just would not stay drifting no matter how much I tried. It was the worst the car has ever felt. So I got a 0 on my follow run. And going into my lead run, the car temperature was still okay. It was like in that 196 range. So it had warmed up, but we weren't overheating yet. So in a sense, our strategy was working, but it was choking so bad at the cooler temperatures. Going into my lead run, I actually put down a really good lead run. It wasn't, you know, like a 100-point run or anything like that, but it was solid. It wasn't breaking up like crazy. I had a few hiccups here and there in the engine, but overall I was able to do my lap and do it well. Crossing the finish line, my car was at 228, so a little less risky, but we were still getting hotter than we should. So pulling up to the decision, I shut the car off, and I knew we didn't win. You know, I knew Austin would get the win. He was able to complete both laps. He did an amazing job, and our 0 on our follow was just not going to be something we could overcome. So we pushed the car back to the pits, and the team was all really bummed, but at the same time, so much happened this weekend, and we did such a great job to just keep pushing. We never gave up. The guys from 5 Bar, they were right there helping us fix all the issues with the belts, with the bash bar that I smashed up, with changing the water pump, with figuring out this fan fuse thing. We never gave up. We were pushing to the very end. I was not exactly willing to blow my engine, but I wasn't willing to just sit out and give up. Fortunately, we did not blow the engine, but we are going to be pulling the heads, getting at those head gaskets, and taking the heads to a machine shop, making sure there's no warping. Really gonna go through it, and we are gonna come back stronger in St. Louis. The breakups, I after we got the car, everything looked good. The car, if I could speak, that would be fantastic. What do I want to say? Oh boy, I forgot to talk about poop. All right, here we go again. And so it doesn't cool officially. Okay. Something in there will work. Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. Oh yeah. Water pump belt. And I That was a lot of words.